My wife slept with her boss, then convinced me to sign over our $500, $0 house to her during a divorce that she's now sabotaging in court over a $50, $0 debt I never knew she had. Was I just a pawn in her ultimate betrayal? Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. It all started with a gut feeling that I couldn't shake, but I never imagined the storm that was coming. My wife Emily had always been a bit high maintenance, demanding, and quick to dismiss anything that didn't suit her. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5, and I thought we had a decent life, comfortable enough, a nice house, 2 cars, and a routine that felt predictable but stable. I worked as an accountant, she was a marketing executive. Life was simple until it was. Lately, I'd noticed her acting strange, late nights at work, secretive texts, her phone always hidden away. She'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts, brushing me off with a sharp attitude or changing the subject. I told myself I was paranoid, that maybe I was overthinking it, but deep down I felt something was off. I kept catching her in little lies. She'd say she was at a friend's or running errands, but I'd find her car parked outside a hotel once, or see her phone lighting up with messages that looked suspicious. Then one night, I came home early from work. I was exhausted, but as I unlocked the front door, I saw her purse on the table and her phone was blinking with a new message. Something about that message made my stomach tighten, an intimate text from someone named Mike, talking about seeing her tonight and how much they missed her. I froze, my heart pounding. It was right there in her own phone. I wasn't imagining things anymore. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I waited. I watched her behavior over the next few days, noticing she was more anxious, more defensive. She'd ask me where I was going, who I was talking to, and suddenly she was more controlling about my phone and my time. I started digging through her social media, her emails, anything I could find. That's when I uncovered the real shocker. She had been sleeping with her boss, David. I found messages, intimate photos, plans for secret meetups. It was like a punch to the gut. She had lied about her late nights, about her work trips. She'd been cheating on me with her boss for months, maybe longer. I was furious, but mostly I felt betrayed. I thought we had a partnership, a life built on trust. Turns out I was just a pawn in her game. She convinced me to sign over our house, worth $500,000, during the divorce process, claiming she needed it for her new apartment, that she'd get her own place after we split. I was naive enough to believe her, especially when she cried and begged, promising she'd be better, that she loved me. I signed the papers without thinking much, trusting she'd do right by me. But then I found out she was sabotaging the divorce, fighting over a debt I never knew about, $50, she claims I owe her, which I found out later was all fabricated to keep me tangled up longer. The worst part, she's still acting like she's the victim. She's lying to everyone, telling her friends I'm abusive, unfaithful, that I'm the one causing trouble. Meanwhile, she's out there spending money I earned, flaunting her new lifestyle and pretending she's the innocent party. I can't believe I was so blind. All those years I thought I was working hard to give us a good life, and she was out there, cheating, stealing, and scheming behind my back. It's like I was just a pawn in her ultimate betrayal, used and discarded. I don't even know how to process this. I feel so betrayed, so stupid for trusting her. I thought I knew her, but she's a completely different person. Now I'm stuck in this mess, caught between anger, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. I don't even know what's worse, the fact that she cheated, or that she's now lying and fighting me over money that I thought was safe in our home. It's like I got played from the start, and I can't believe I didn't see it coming. I just want to get out of this whole nightmare, but I don't know if I ever really will. So, after I found out about Emily's affair with David, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and honestly, I felt like I was living in someone else's nightmare. That night I stayed up scrolling through her phone, looking at the messages, trying to piece together how long she'd been lying to me. It was sickening. The way she talked to him, flirty, suggestive, desperate even, like she was craving the attention, the excitement she claimed she never got from me anymore. She'd always been bitchy about my work hours, but apparently she was getting her needs met elsewhere. I remember the moment I finally confronted her. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I found her in the kitchen, pretending to be busy with some stupid smoothie recipe. I slammed her phone down on the table and her face twisted into that familiar smirk, like she thought she could just lie her way out of it. "So, Emily," I said, voice shaking but trying to sound calm, "care to explain what this is?" I pushed her phone toward her. Her eyes widened for a second, then she quickly snatched it back. She blinked, then looked at me with that fake innocent look she always put on. "Oh, come on, Jason," she snapped, her voice dripping with contempt. "It's nothing, just some stupid banter with a coworker. You're overreacting, you always do." I felt my blood boil. "That's not just banter, that's fucking cheating. You're sleeping with your boss, Emily. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes. "You're so paranoid. I work late sometimes, that's all. David's just a friend. You don't understand how stressful my job is. Maybe if you weren't so insecure, you'd see that." Insecure? Yeah, right. I've never been insecure in my life, but now I was questioning everything. Was I really just a fool for trusting her? Was our whole life a lie? I couldn't believe she'd lie so easily, so convincingly. She's always been manipulative, but this was next level. I told her I knew about the affair, and her reaction was pure bitchiness. She scoffed, said I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that I was jealous and insecure. She even had the nerve to cry, saying I was ruining her reputation, that I was trying to control her. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. How could she turn it around like that? Like I was the problem. I told her I wanted her out of the house, that I'd had enough of her lies. She just laughed, said she'd see me in court, that she'd fight for everything. That's when I realized she was planning something bigger. She was already scheming, probably talking to her lawyer about how to screw me over. The emotional toll hit me hard. I started questioning everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I kept thinking about the good times, the years we spent building this life, only to find out it was all a facade. I was furious, hurt, and feeling utterly betrayed. I'd never been so vulnerable in my life. The trust I had in her crumbled in seconds, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. That night, I sat alone in our living room, staring at the walls that now felt like they were closing in. I kept replaying the moment I found her messages, the way her face looked when I confronted her. I felt like a damn fool. All those years of working hard, trying to make her happy, and she was out there, sleeping with her boss and lying to everyone, including me. It was like she'd been planning her escape for months, and I was just some pawn she used to get what she wanted. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with this. But I also didn't want to just roll over and let her take everything, especially not the house we both worked so hard for. That's when I started thinking about how she'd manipulated the situation with the house, convincing me to sign over half of it during the divorce, claiming she needed it for her new life. I had trusted her then, but now I saw her for what she really was, a liar and a cheat. I decided I'd fight her in court. I'd fight for what was rightfully mine, for the house, for the money she was trying to steal from me through her lies. But more than that, I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. I wasn't going to let her walk away, acting like she's the innocent victim. I knew she'd lie, manipulate, do whatever it took to keep her hold on what she wanted, her new life, her new man, her money. But I was done being the fool. I'd find a way to make her regret everything she'd put me through. That night I made a decision. I'd gather evidence, get legal help, and expose her for who she really was. I couldn't let her get away with this, not without a fight. And I promised myself from that moment on, I'd do whatever it took to take back what was mine and make her pay for her betrayal. The next few days were a whirlwind of planning and anger. I couldn't sleep, kept waking up with that sick feeling in my stomach, knowing she was probably out there, lying her ass off to everyone about how innocent she was. I decided I needed solid evidence, not just my gut feeling anymore. If I was going to fight her in court and take back everything she was trying to steal, I needed proof, conversations, receipts, anything that could show her true nature. I started by installing a few discrete apps on my phone. I wasn't proud of spying, but I knew I had to do it. I needed to catch her in the active. I could. I also pulled out all the financial documents I could find, bank statements, emails, anything that could help me understand her financial situation better. Turns out, she'd been hiding a $50, $0 debt from me, claiming it was a personal loan she'd taken out for her business. That was a lie. I found emails where she'd borrowed money from her sister and a few shady online lenders. She was desperate to keep her secrets hidden, and I was determined to expose every single one. One afternoon, I managed to get her to slip up. She was on a video call with her best friend, Lisa, and I overheard her talking about keeping Jason off her back and making sure she gets the house. She also mentioned her lawyer was working on the final papers, trying to stall everything. I recorded the whole thing. That was the moment I realized how deep her lies went. She'd been planning this for months, probably longer. Meanwhile, I reached out to a divorce attorney. We discussed my options. I was surprised to learn that I could challenge the signing of the house over to her, especially since I'd been duped into it. The thing is, she'd convinced me I was doing the right thing. She cried, begged, told me she needed a fresh start, and I was naive enough to believe her. Now I saw how calculated her moves were. She kept up her act, pretending to be the victim, making herself look innocent. She told everyone she was forced to leave because I was abusive and unfaithful, which was total bullshit. She's always been the bitchy type, quick to lie and manipulate, and now she was using her charm and tears to spin her story. I could see through it, though. I knew her too well. She's the kind of person who will say whatever it takes to get what she wants, no matter how much damage she causes. I also found out she'd been spending money like crazy, designer clothes, expensive dinners, trips she never mentioned. All on the money I thought was going into our joint savings. I had to confront her about it. When I did, she just sneered and said I was jealous, that she deserved to enjoy her life after everything. But I knew better. That money was supposed to be for our future, not her secret. Shopping sprees and fancy dinners with David. In the midst of all this chaos, she started to get more aggressive. She'd call me names, accuse me of being crazy, and threaten to take everything, our house, our savings, everything I worked for. She even hired a lawyer herself, claiming I was trying to ruin her. Meanwhile, I was just gathering the pieces of the puzzle, trying to stay calm but feeling like I was losing my mind. One night, I caught her in a lie about where she was. She said she was out with friends, but I tracked her phone and saw she was at a hotel with David. That was the final straw. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let her keep lying, cheating, and stealing from me. I felt betrayed on every level by her, by the woman I thought I knew, by the life we built together. I was furious and hurt, but I also knew I had to be strategic if I wanted to come out of this with anything left. So I started preparing for the worst. I contacted a private investigator just to confirm what I already suspected, that she was still seeing David behind my back. The PI came back with photos and video footage of her meeting him at that hotel, sneaking in late at night. Seeing those images made my stomach turn, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This was all real. My wife was cheating, lying, and trying to take everything from me, and I was done being the fool. I knew I had to act fast. I was going to fight her legally, challenge her claims, and get everything I deserved. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my house, my savings, or my dignity. I had to be smart, patient, and relentless. Because if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that betrayal cuts deep, especially when it comes from someone you trusted with your life. The legal process was a nightmare. I never thought I'd be sitting across from lawyers, poring over documents, and trying to piece together how Emily had managed to manipulate everything so easily. She was smart, too damn smart, and she knew exactly how to spin her story in court. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I had been emotionally abusive, that I was controlling, and that her affair was just a result of my supposed shortcomings. That bitch even had her lawyer file a motion to keep me from seeing the house, saying I was a danger to her. It was infuriating. Meanwhile, I had all the evidence I needed, her secret texts, the hotel photos, the financial lies, and the recordings of her talking about keeping me off her back. I worked with my attorney to build a case that showed her true colors, how she'd been planning her escape for months, and how she'd lied to get the house signed over to her. I knew I had a shot because I wasn't just some jealous husband. I had concrete proof she'd been cheating and manipulating. One of the hardest parts was confronting her directly in court. Emily sat there, looking smug, like she was already winning. She kept denying everything, spinning her usual lies about how she just needed a fresh start, how I was crazy, and how she was forced to do this. She was good at acting innocent, bitchy, manipulative, and cold. I wanted to scream at her, but I kept my composure. I had to, I knew. If I lost my temper, it would play right into her hands. The judge, though, wasn't buying her bullshit. My lawyer presented the evidence, and I testified about how I uncovered her affair, how she'd been lying, and how she'd secretly spent money that should have been ours. I told the court about the debt she'd hidden, how she'd been planning her escape for months, and how I felt betrayed. I could see her trying to look sympathetic, but it was too late. The damage was done. The court's decision was a relief, at least in part. The judge ruled that I could challenge the transfer of the house, that Emily had deceived me into signing it over under false pretenses. That meant I had a chance to get my half back or at least some fair settlement. But Emily wasn't done. She filed counterclaims, trying to keep me from getting anything, claiming I was violent and unstable. I knew her tactics. They were desperate and messy. Throughout the process, I felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. I was finally standing up for myself, fighting back against her lies, but it came at a cost. I'd lost my trust in her, in our marriage, in the whole idea of what we once had. I kept asking myself how everything went so wrong so fast. How did I go from a guy who thought he was building a future to someone who was fighting for scraps, betrayed by the woman he loved? And then there was the money. The debt she'd hidden was just the tip of the iceberg. I discovered she'd been siphoning money from our joint accounts, making fake invoices, and even taking out credit cards in my name. She was draining us, all while pretending to be the caring wife. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she lie and cheat, then turn around and play the victim? In the end, I realized I had to be prepared for the worst. Even if I won the case, I knew she'd fight tooth and nail to keep what she wanted. I hired a financial expert to audit her accounts and find every dollar she'd stolen or hidden. I also started the process of rebuilding my life, focusing on my mental health, and figuring out what I truly wanted moving forward. I knew I couldn't fix what was broken, but I could control how I responded. One thing I learned through all this: betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to see things clearly. Emily was a manipulative, selfish woman who used her charm and lies to get what she wanted. I was just a pawn in her game, and now I'm finally waking up to that. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let her ruin me anymore. I'm done being a victim. It's time to fight back, rebuild, and move on from this nightmare. The aftermath of the court case was a strange mix of relief and chaos. I got the house back, well, part of it. The judge ruled that Emily had to return the deed, and I was awarded a settlement to cover some of the expenses she'd hidden or stolen. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was enough to start rebuilding. Still, the damage was done. Trust was shattered, and I felt like a fool for ever believing in our life together. Emily, of course, didn't take it well. She screamed and threw her tantrum at the courthouse, claiming I was ruining her life, calling me paranoid and abusive. Again, she even tried to sue me for custody of our dog, claiming I was unstable. I couldn't believe her audacity. Honestly, I just wanted her out of my life to cut all ties and move on. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone cold, manipulative, and willing to do anything to get her way. One of the worst moments came when I finally sat her down. Well, more like she allowed herself to be cornered, so I could confront her directly about everything. I told her I knew about her affair with David, her secret debts, her lies, and her manipulations. I told her I never wanted to see her again, that I was done being used and betrayed. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk like she thought she'd won. "You're just jealous," she sneered. "You're too insecure to handle a woman like me. I deserve better than your boring, predictable life." That moment made me realize how deeply she'd twisted everything. She was a narcissist, a liar, a woman who thrived on control and manipulation. and I was just a pawn she'd used to get what she wanted. I moved out of the house shortly after. It felt like a weight had been lifted. I rented a small apartment nearby, trying to put some distance between us. I started therapy to process all the emotions, the anger, the sadness, the humiliation. It was a long road, but I knew I had to rebuild my life from the ground up. The financial mess she left behind was another headache. I hired an accountant to audit our accounts, and what we found was staggering. She drained thousands of dollars, hidden bills, and even taken out loans in my name. I was lucky to catch most of it in time, but it made me realize how vulnerable I'd been. I'd trusted her blindly, and she used that trust against me. Most days I'd wake up feeling like I was just surviving, but I also learned some tough lessons. Never ignore your instincts, never trust blindly, and always keep control of your money. I also learned that some people are just plain selfish. They'll lie, cheat, and manipulate without a second thought if it benefits them. Now I'm trying to focus on myself. I've started saving again, rebuilding my credit, and trying to forget the woman who once meant everything to me. I won't say I'm completely healed, but I'm getting there. I know I'll never fully trust anyone the way I trusted her, but I also know I won't let this destroy me. I want to find happiness again, even if it's just a little at a time. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner. I wish I'd been more cautious. But mostly, I wish I'd never let her manipulate me into giving her so much power. That's why I'm sharing this, because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Trust your gut. Watch out for the red flags. Don't let anyone use your kindness or trust against you, because once betrayal happens, it's hard to come back from it. But I promise you can survive. You can rebuild, and someday you'll find a way to move on. Now, looking back, I realize that the biggest lesson I learned is how fragile trust really is, and how easily it can be shattered by someone you thought you knew. Emily was always bitchy, manipulative, and quick to lie, but I never saw her true nature until it was too late. She played me like a damn fiddle, convincing me to sign over our house, all while she was out sleeping with her boss and hiding debts I didn't even know existed. It's crazy to think how much of my life she managed to control, how she twisted every situation to her advantage. She lied about her feelings, about her intentions, even about her debts, and I bought into it because I loved her. I believed in us. But love doesn't mean blind trust, especially not when someone is actively betraying you behind your back. The court case was just the final chapter, but the real change happened inside me. I learned to stand up for myself, to question everything, and to never let anyone manipulate me again. I've come to understand that some people are just selfish, and no matter how much you try to fix things, they'll always find a way to hurt you if they're determined enough. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived her betrayal, and I'm still here, still fighting to rebuild. I've realized that moving on isn't about forgetting. It's about forgiving yourself for trusting the wrong people and learning from it. I've started to rebuild my life, piece by piece, focusing on my own happiness and stability. I've cut ties with her completely, no contact, no drama, just a clean break. It's not easy, but I know it's necessary. And to anyone out there going through something similar, trust your instincts. Watch for the red flags. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. People like Emily don't change. They only get better at hiding who they really are. Be cautious with your money, your emotions, and your trust. Because once it's broken, it's almost impossible to put back together completely. But in the end, you will survive. You will learn, and you will come out stronger on the other side. I don't regret the pain I've been through because it taught me who I am, someone who can endure, who can fight, and who can rebuild after betrayal. Life will never be perfect, but I'm learning to accept that. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find happiness again someday. Not with her, not with anyone who lies and manipulates, but with myself, stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next.